Hi everyone, welcome back to Rabbi's Reflection. I'm glad that you're joining with me today. We'll be continuing in our reading of Kitchen Table Wisdom by Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen, and today we'll be reading the story, Reading Between the Lines. Stay with us as we read through the story and then offer some reflections. Sarah is a woman who, like myself, has had Crohn's disease for many years. In 30 years of illness, she has had more than 14 abdominal and joint surgeries. As a result of these experiences, she saw herself as a victim. When she first came to my office, she was chronically depressed and incapacitated by self-pity. But over time, that changed. Now she works 3 days a week and participates in the busy life of her family. When she completed her counseling sessions, her husband commented on the changes she had made and said it was like being married to another woman. A year after I had last seen her, she developed pain in her jaw and went to see her dentist. He diagnosed a small abscess in the bone and told her that she would need root canal surgery to correct it. As he began to describe the procedure, she abruptly stood and left his office. A few hours later, I received an alarmed phone call from her husband, who had come home from work to find her sitting in her bathrobe in the living room, deeply depressed. He had no idea why, as she was unwilling to talk to him about it. "Come over," I said. I was horrified by the change in Sarah. She looked much as she had when we first met 3 years ago. Her eyes were lifeless, her hair uncombed. Her mismatched clothes seemed to be the first that had come to hand when she went to her closet. She sat slumped in the chair opposite me. In a flat voice, she told me what had happened in the dentist's office that afternoon. "It's just too much. I can't do it," she said. This straw breaks the camel's back. "What is going on, Sarah?" I asked. She began to cry. "I don't know," she said. "I feel the same way I did when I first came here, sort of overwhelmed, beaten down." I suggested we try some of the imagery that had been so helpful to her before. Perhaps it would help her uncover the reason for her distress. In tears, she agreed. I encouraged her to sit back in her chair and relax. Slowly, she was able to follow the familiar pattern. When her breathing slowed and became a bit deeper, I suggested that she imagine herself standing before a closed door. "When you feel ready, reach forward and open the door," I said. "On the other side, you will find something that will help you with your feelings." Opening this imaginary door, she was surprised to find herself in a hospital room. The patient in the bed was herself, in a coma, at the onset of her disease some 30 years ago. Over the next 15 minutes or so, she visited hospital room after hospital room in her imagination. Slowly, the events of her long illness began to unfold, year by year, operation by operation, setback after setback, recovery by recovery. As I went along with her, my logical mind began to object. Privately, I wondered how any of this could possibly be of help to her now. Wouldn't revisiting all this pain cause her to feel even more victimized and helpless? Yet, as she went on and on, her voice got stronger, and she began to straighten up in her chair. She had just come to the year 1988, and was standing in an operating room watching what must have been her 12th surgery, in which her right hip was completely replaced, when suddenly she opened her eyes and burst out laughing. "Root canal, schmoot canal," she howled, tears of laughter rolling down her face. "I can do this itty-bitty surgery with one hand tied behind my back." By reviewing the story of her disease, Sarah was able to experience the story behind the story, the personal meaning in the familiar facts and events. Looking deeply and honestly at her woundedness, she had found her power, experienced her own indomitable will to live, her courage, and her ability to heal herself over and over again. Perhaps every victim is really a survivor who does not know it yet. Today's reflection is about being able to get in contact and in touch with your own woundedness by looking at it, by observing it, by realizing all that you've gone through. Perhaps Dr. Remen is teaching us that perhaps also that's where you're going to find your power, and that's where you're going to find your strength. The story focuses on a particular woman who sadly has suffered from Crohn's for 30 years and has undergone countless and countless surgeries. And in therapy and counseling with Dr. Remen, really was able to get to a much better place. But the prospect of a root canal surgery really set her back, and she becomes overwhelmed and beaten down. I can imagine for many of us, we've worked really hard to get to the place where we need to be in life. We've done so much work to make sure that we're okay right now. And then something happens that sets us falling, that makes us feel overwhelmed. And sometimes it feels like we're stuck in the pit and we can't get out. So Dr. Remen offers something that I think is actually pretty amazing practice. It's might be a little bit out of our comfort zones, but she offers this imagery. Imagine what it's like to stand before a closed door, and then to open that door. What do you see? So I want to give each of us an opportunity to actually do that. So take a deep breath. Whatever concerns that we have, whatever worries that we have, let those be present for us right now. And let's stand before a closed door in our mind's eye. Perhaps you can imagine what the door looks like, what the knob of the door looks like. And once you can picture it in your head, reach out your hand and open the door. What do you see on the other side of it? As Dr. Remen says, whatever is on the other side of it might be a key for you to unlock of how you might be able to approach or confront whatever it is that you're struggling with. And so I think there's really some really beautiful teachings and wisdom here in this story, that we are able to be survivors of our own story. And because we're survivors, that's where our strength comes from. So my hope for each of us as we reflect on this today and going forward is that we're able to look back on our struggles, to look back on our past, and not to push those moments away, but to realize the strength that we gain from all of those experiences. Have a great day, everyone.